Where is the guy that comes off one of our correspondent pieces on JRIB and does so well that you think, man, he played his way into an interview, either on that show or this show or both shows. I mean, it almost never, ever, ever happens. Normally, those correspondent pieces, the degree of difficulty is such that if they work, we're usually pumped. But they never work well enough that you're like, I got to talk to that guy. I got to have that guy on this show. In this case, that's the case. This guy did so well in his correspondent piece, we had to turn that around and put him on this show. Plays the offensive line for the Packers. They're 8-0. They're coming off a road win over the Chargers. I am joined by Josh Sitton. Josh, it's great to have you on. How are you?
What's up, Jay? Appreciate that introduction, man.
You earned it, my man. You earned it. In fact, before we talk Packers, before we talk about this past weekend, I've got to know, what was your strategy? I mean, for those who don't know, it's never an easy thing to do, where we send a camera crew to a guy and say, hey, we'll give you a little bit of direction, but you got to carry this thing, you got to do your thing, and you killed it. What was your plan going in?
I didn't really have a plan, man. I was just kind of winging it. I had a few ideas from our PR guy, Jonathan Butnick, but I kind of scratched all those because they were all pretty stupid. So I just kind of winged it and went and talked to the heavy hitters in the locker room, and that was pretty much what you got, just me winging it.
That's awesome. The PR guy gave me some ideas, but they were all stupid, so I just didn't do it. All right, so, what was it like throughout that whole process? I mean, were guys mostly open to it? Were guys into it? And what was it like for you to do it?
Well, at first when I was going up to guys, they were kind of turning me down. I was like, hey, I'm doing a piece for Jim Rome. They were like, oh, all right, So it's kind of, you know how these guys are. Any kind of big exposure they can get, they want to do it. But if I was doing it for some local TV, they would have turned me down because that's just, that's how people are. But, as soon as I told them it was for Jim Rome, they said, yeah, I'll do it, let's talk. And so, I mean, I guess you got a pretty good following for, all these guys to be like that. But, it was fun. I had a good time with it. I'm that type of guy, just have fun with things and just kind of roll with the punches. So it was a good time.
No, you were a natural. No, you absolutely were a natural. I thought, Josh, the exchange with Clay Matthews was tremendous because a couple of you guys, I mean, you guys are different guys, different parts of the country, different guys, different approach. Talk about the exchange you had with him and who's got better hair.
Well, I think the obvious answer is I do have the better hair. And Clay's one of the guys that I think he's fun to talk to. He's a SoCal guy. It's obviously different for where I'm from. He's a big star. So, you have to be a little bit different when you're in that type of spotlight. So I always enjoy talking with him. He's silently funny, man. He's always saying something stupid and just kind of out of the blue funny. So I always enjoy kind of BSing with him. And I knew that it was going to be fun to kind of, get after him a little bit in that piece. So I had fun with it.
Well, I thought that hair flip you nailed. His hair flip you nailed perfectly.
Yeah, I kind of took his move and threw it in his face, right?
Exactly. It's funny. You said about him what everybody says about him. Yeah, he's just kind of a SoCal guy, and he's a star, and he's all Hollywood. I mean, when you first got there and you first met him, did you have any kind of preconceived notions like the guy's from SoCal, he's got to be laid back, he can't be all that, probably a little bit soft? Did you have any of those opinions before you got to know what he was about?
I'll
take that as a yes.
I don't want you to get me into something, but no, I didn't really have anything preconceived notions. The only thing is when we got into training camp, he wasn't practicing, so I was kind of like, well, I really don't know what this guy's about until we got into game time, and then he kind of let his play do all the talking. That's all that really matters.
Josh Sitton joining us. All right, Josh, you're 8-0, coming off a Super Bowl win. I mean, I thought there was this notion that once you win, everything changes. Guys aren't as hungry. Guys got their hand out. They want to get there as complacency sets in. You've got that bullseye on your back. Teams are coming at you harder. I mean, it looks to me like you guys are as good and as strong as you've ever been. Talk about what it's been like defending so far.
Well, it's been a great run, obviously, and it just shows the type of dudes we have on the team. I mean, like you said, that complacency can set in, and the type of guys that Ted drafts are high character guys that want to work and want to win, and that's really why we're here. We're not here for the money. We're not here. All those things are great, and all the perks you get. Those are all great, but the type of guys we have in the locker room are just hard nosed. Bring your lunch pail and hard hat type guys, and that's just the type of dudes we have in the locker room that want to win, and I think that's, been proved over the first 8 weeks.
Josh Sitton of the Packers joins us. It's hard to imagine there was any conversation ever about Aaron Rodgers, whether or not he could be the guy, whether or not he could take the place of Brett Favre. I mean, the guy's playing at such a high level and seemingly getting even better. When you first met him, did you know that he had that in him, that he was going to be that kind of player?
I wouldn't say I knew that right away. His first year starting was my rookie season, and I played, probably 30% of the snaps or so. And you saw him slowly grow into that role of that leader. And you could see the athletic ability and the arm strength, and, he could make all the throws, but he grew into that role of, being the big shot, being the guy, being what makes our team click. And that's what he is. He's that guy. And you saw him slowly grow into that. And really into my second season is really when I saw him just take over and take over the team and step into that leadership role and really turn into that guy that, can just take over the whole team and, put him on our back.
Yeah, I think, Josh,
put him on his back.
Yeah, excuse me. I'm sorry. I was going to say the thing about him that I think now people know but didn't know. He's an athlete. He can make all the throws, but I don't think people understood how mentally tough he was and the edge that he had. I mean, he was careful to kind of keep it inside, not let people in, and let them know what he was thinking. But this guy's got a hard edge to him. He's very, very tough, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely, man. I said that from the beginning because I came in when we were dealing with the whole, Favre thing, and, he didn't let it affect him. And, whatever he was thinking, like you said, he wouldn't, let that slip to the media. And, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know how hard that was for him to deal with, but I'm sure it was. But you didn't see it in the locker room. It didn't affect him. He didn't talk about it. He didn't whine and complain about it. And he just went about his business and, went and had a great year as the first year as a starter. And that just shows how mentally tough he was. And he's continued to show that for the past 3 or 4 years.
Hey, Josh, has anybody mentioned 16-0? Is that on anybody's radar in the locker room?
We really try not to talk about that. It's obviously it's something that you think about. I mean, you can't not think about it. It's human nature. But it's something I think that Coach McCarthy really does a good job. He kind of breaks it down, just like, every team. We break it down 4 quarters of the season, and then he kind of talks about each week being its own little season. And you have to prepare so much and put so much time into one game that it's really hard to think about the future. I mean, you've been covering this game for a while. There's a 24-hour window for every game. You get 24 hours to get over a game, 24 hours to celebrate a game, and then you're on to the next one. So it's tough to really think about any games in the future except for the next game coming up. So we put so much into the week that it's really hard to be talking about going undefeated.
Hey, Josh, one thing. What about Charles Woodson saying after the game that the defense didn't do its job, that it's, quote, the liability on this team? Do you see it that way?
No, man. They always do so much. Come up with huge turnovers. I mean, it's a different game if they don't have the 3 turnovers they have. Who knows what happens. But, they know they didn't have their best game yesterday. That's going to happen. That's why it's a team sport. That's why I think it's the best sport out there. I mean, it really takes the whole team. Without our offense and our special teams playing the way we played, it's a different game. We need the whole team as a unit to do our jobs, and that's why I really love this sport.
Are you not concerned that they're giving up about 300 yards a game through the air?
Well, it's a little deceiving because they're kind of a bend but not break team. They're always going to end up making a big play for us. They always have. They did last year down the stretch. As an offense, we put them in some spots that we really shouldn't have, and even in the Super Bowl, we should have put the Steelers away probably in the first half, but really that last drive, we should have scored a touchdown and game over. But we put them in a bind. They came up and made a huge play. They always do. We have full confidence in them. I think they're a bunch of badasses over there, frankly, and, starting with Charles being number 1 and Clay, all those guys, they always make plays, and we're never concerned with them. Yesterday, I knew we were going to win the game when it was in our defense end at the end of the game. I really did. That's how much confidence I have in them.
Yeah, and I guess in a way I'm kind of pushing you on this, but the fact is they did score 2 touchdowns defensively. You house a couple of them, and they may bend, but they come up with big plays, to your point. So, Josh, the question is, where do you go with your media career from now? You got your correspondent piece. You got your Rome hit on the radio. Where do you go with your media empire from here?
Well, wherever you take me, Joe.
All right.
You got to give me a job one day, right?
All right. Yeah, I got you. In fact, I'll definitely go to work on that.
I'm crippled and I can't play football anymore, you gotta let me come over there and get a job at ESPN.
You got that. I'll hook that up. We can do that. Listen, good job. You nailed that correspondent piece. You held it down right here. I'll start thinking about your next job.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right, Josh. Take care. Good job. Jay Sitt doing his thing. It's a great personality. From Jacksonville originally, played his college ball at UCF on the Packers line. I mean, I can't stress that enough. Almost nobody, has played their way out of a JRIB correspondent piece onto an interview. And certainly not an offensive lineman. But that's how good he was. Now you know why. With that personality. This was the exchange that he had with Aaron Rodgers during the correspondent piece.
Let's talk about this. Jim Rome, I've been on his radio show a number of times. Never once has he made me a correspondent. You probably don't even know.
I don't even know Jimmy Bob.
Jim Rome lives.
I don't even know Jimmy Bob.
What he likes to do when he's off the radio. And you're his correspondent.
What does he like to do?
He does the horses.
He's a horse guy.
He is.
That's cool. Maybe you can bring me down to wherever you live and go ride horses together, Jim.
Thank you.
That is so good. Aaron Rodgers says, oh, wait a minute. Hold up now. How many times have I done Rome's radio show? He's never asked me to be a correspondent. Sitton says, I don't even know Jimmy Bob. Aaron says, what do you know about him? What do you know about him? What do you know about what he does in his off time? He likes the horses. Yeah, I didn't know that. I don't know Jimmy Bob. Man, Sitton rules. Sitton rules. And if you've got a problem with Sitton, you can just go ahead and sit on it. Ayy.